Today we got an incredible matchup. Rick and Morty versus Stewie and Brian. Who comes out on top? Well, let's find out.
Eyes up. Stay sharp. Stay down. Final warning. I could do this all day.
Rick Sanchez is a genius scientist whose alcoholism and reckless nihilistic behavior are a source of great concern with his family, while his grandson Morty is a young, good-natured kid who was forced to tag along on their various misadventures across the multiverse. Rick is an absolute genius, and has the ability to do just about anything solely because of his intelligence. He's taken a regular cable box and rigged it to receive signals from all over the multiverse in about 7 seconds. Makes a device that increases intelligence to the point where a lapdog can take over humanity. He created a whole universe and advanced civilization just to power up his car, and he was even able to easily make a butter-passing robot that was so self-aware that it demonstrated complex emotions. He's made a device that allows you to enter into people's dreams, can remove magical curses that Satan himself put on items, implant nanobots into Morty that could turn him into a car, built a combat suit out of stuff that he found in the jungle, outsmarted a fourth-dimensional being, and even famously transformed himself into a pickle. Rick also has some seriously powerful gear, with his go-to weapon being his portal gun. He can open any number of portals to anywhere in his or in any other universe. He can send people through the portal and then trap them there, and even just use the portal to slice people in half. He's got a watch with a particle beam that can vaporize people, a handgun that can instantly vaporize people, and a spaceship that can actually travel faster than the speed of light. He's even got a snake holster attached to his legs. Then while Rick is definitely the brains of the operation and is the much more powerful one, Morty is a good listener and follows instructions well, making him the perfect sidekick for Rick. He's also shown to be brave and quick-witted on occasions, isn't afraid to call out Rick for his hypocrisy and cynicism, and he's even smart enough to get himself out of danger and even disarm bombs built by Rick. Thus we got in one corner, Rick and Morty, but into the other ring, another genius and a sidekick, Stewie and Brian. Obsessed with violence and matricide, Stewie is the youngest child of Peter and Lois Griffin, and the brother of Meg and Chris Griffin. Over the series, he has come to have a very close friendship with the family's dog, Brian, who is an 8-year-old talking white Labrador who's lived with the Griffin family since Peter picked him up as a stray. Brian's also able to speak intelligently, drive a car, and walk bipedally. Even though she's a baby, Stewie is surprisingly good in a fight, being able to beat up Brian on multiple occasions, and even fight against adults like Mayor West. He's also durable enough to survive helicopter crashes and being hit by a bus, and when Stewie was stabbed in the ear, he wasn't worried about the pain, just more worried about how it looks. Stewie's also insanely intelligent, actually a bona fide genius. He's smart enough to tinker around with advanced mathematical formulas, built a digital dream interface to allow him to enter into Brian's dreams, and even built a fertilization device to get himself pregnant. He's built a teleporter that instantly teleports the cast of Star Trek The Next Generation, a bomb that was designed to go off only when Mort burps, and actually designed a way to create a whole cabin on a pair of rocket skis. He's also built a multiverse traveler and a time machine. Stewie's also created some weapons, like a neuralizer a la Men in Black, a flamethrower, and even has a whole room devoted to his weapons. Stewie also has some Toon Force abilities, being able to pull a laser gun out of nowhere, and even turn into a Russian nesting doll, or glide like a flying squirrel. Brian also has limited Toon Force abilities. He's strong and durable enough to fight against both Peter and Stewie, and is actually rather intelligent, being a very reasonable and sensible individual. So, who wins? Well, let's break it down. Now, these guys right here are some of the most iconic duos in cartoons anywhere, and they're remarkably similar, one being a genius who can create any invention imaginable, the other just being their sidekick. So it does make sense to throw these guys head to head in a fight. But who comes out on top? Now, Right out of the gate, this basically boils down to a fight between Rick and Stewie. Brian has never really done anything too spectacular to help him in the fight. The most he's ever done is just to be a damage sponge, meaning he can take plenty of damage and keep on fighting. And he has been severely beaten by Stewie, shot and burned alive with a flamethrower, remained alive. So he's an impressive sponge. That's basically all he's got. Now, Morty will be more useful, because he does work better with Rick. He's smart enough to get himself out of situations himself, and is even quite brave if need be. Also, if Rick gives him a weapon, well, the kid has got some real anger issues, and will just let loose, like we saw during the Purge episode. But yeah, whoever can win between Rick and Stewie is ultimately winning here. Now, when it comes to a hand-to-hand fight, Stewie is actually surprisingly skilled and capable, despite just being a baby. I mean, the kid has actually wiped the floor with Osama bin Laden and his terrorist, beat the ever-living crap out of Brian for not having his money, and fought against Meg's kidnappers. He's shown some impressive skill and absolute brutality too, dodging knife strikes, using makeshift weapons, and isn't afraid to kill anyone he comes across. I mean, he spent the whole series planning on how to kill his own mother and beat the crap out of his best friend. Stewie has very few morals, if any. And actually say that Stewie and Brian actually have the advantage here when it comes to pure hand-to-hand fighting, only because their fighting style is more infused with their Toon Force abilities, allowing them to do things and take attacks that Rick and Morty shouldn't be able to. However, with that being said, pure hand-to-hand fighting is easily the least important factor in this fight, considering all the layers of tech and armor that Rick and Morty will be hiding behind. Also, it's not like Rick isn't skilled in a fight. I mean, after years of fleeing from the law and fighting his way out of dangerous situations, it's no surprise that it's turned Rick into a fairly capable and skilled fighter. He's beat the crap out of several aliens before by using Rick Fu. He's beaten someone who was his physical equivalent in a fist fight, and even managed to maneuver a guard into shooting his handcuffs off, then judo flipping him over his shoulder and stealing his gun. Morty's even gotten in on the action too and beat up some people by himself. Then both Stewie and Brian and Rick and Morty have also fought against other super geniuses and done surprisingly well. Rick has fought against other geniuses like Zeep and come out on top. He's beaten other Ricks who are just as smart as Rick C-137, our Rick, and actually been on the run from those guys for a long time and always comes out on top. In fact, he's beaten some alternate Ricks fairly easily, although he did catch them by surprise. Rick has also fought against people with incredible tech who were prepared for the fight while Rick wasn't, like when he fought against the president. In that fight, Rick was basically improvising and making it up as he went along, yet still, they would put up an incredible fight and actually win. On the other hand, Stewie and Brian, or I guess more accurately just Stewie, have fought against several other geniuses, including people like Penelope, evil Stewie, and his evil half-brother Bertram. But ultimately, this fight does come down to just gear, weapons, and intelligence. Well, Stewie is a genius. He's able to create self-conscious evolving robots, teleportation devices. He's able to create clones, although they weren't stable, doppelganger robots, and Robo-Peter, a spaceship that can shrink down to microscopic sizes, and probably most impressively, he built a multiverse traveling machine and a time traveling machine. With his time machine, Stewie actually broke the laws of physics. With his multiverse machine, well, Stewie and Brian are actually responsible for the Big Bang, allowing them to exist outside of the space-time continuum, aka non-existence, and technically making Stewie the creator of the universe as a result of a temporal paradox. But in a fight, Stewie actually tends to rely more on hand-to-hand fighting, conventional weapons like knives, guns, or missiles, and at the very best, use lasers. He even mentioned in one of his fights against another super genius that an anti-gravity gun was beyond his technology. On the other hand, pretty much everything Stewie has done, Rick has done as well. And he's either done it better, done it faster, or done it using scraps and heaps of junk. He's created a self-conscious robot with deep emotions at the dinner table for the sole purpose of passing him the butter. He's got a portal gun that allows him to teleport. He's created more sophisticated and stable clones, robots so sophisticated that people aren't able to tell the difference between them and the real thing. And if Stu was able to create a macroscopic spaceship, well, Rick actually built a microscopic theme park inside of a living person. He's got a way more sophisticated multiverse traveling machine in his portal gun. And Rick is able to pretty much travel anywhere he wants instantly, while it took Brian and Stewie a whole episode to get back to the proper multiverse. And while Rick never really has dealt in time travel, he has a whole box in the garage labeled time travel stuff, and I'm like 10,000% positive that he is capable of traveling through time if he wants to. Then, in a fight, unlike Stewie and Brian, Rick will actually use all sorts of highly advanced sci-fi gear and weapons. He's able to instantly vaporize people and cut them in half. He's got a force field around his body that can deflect incoming attacks. He can create holograms of himself, will instantly freeze people solid. And he's even just got laser pistols that can vaporize people or blow holes straight through them. Even as Pickle Rick, Rick still relied on highly advanced gear and weapons in order to take down all the Russians and fight against Jaguar. End of the day, both of these guys are incredibly intelligent, and could theoretically create anything that they can think of. But in an actual fight, well, they just fight differently, and still relies more on hand-to-hand conventional weapons. Rick is the exact opposite, and will instantly use advanced sci-fi weapons in order to instantly vaporize Brian and Stewie. No problem, no sweat. Rick Sanchez is just better here, no real way around it. Rick and Morty win. But what do y'all think? I would love to hear your thoughts. Sound off in the comments down below. Also, be sure to hit that like button, the subscribe button, turn on notifications, join the Fanco army, and I will see you next time.